Hello and welcome to TV Talks, the show where I take a look at both the good and the bad of what television has to offer. So yesterday I reviewed the Looney Tunes show, and at the end I promised to show you what a good Looney Tunes spin-off would be like. Well, here it is, 1991's Tiny Toon Adventures, created by Tom Ruegger and Steven Spielberg. Yep, I'm not kidding, this was a Steven Spielberg produced show. And, well, needless to say, this show was very, very popular during its time, and then it gave way to such shows like Animaniacs, the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, and so on and so forth. So, when it comes to Looney Tunes spin-offs, with the exception of maybe something like Tasmania, this was the one that started it all, and this was definitely one of them that made the longest lasting impacts. What's the show about? Well, it's not exactly about the Looney Tunes, but it's about these breed of Looney Tunes called the Tiny Toons, not Baby Looney Tunes. Every time I always bring that up, people always get confused. This is nothing like Baby Looney Tunes. This is good. See, and they're also not the kid versions of the Looney Tunes or the Looney Tunes children. They're just characters that are similar. Anyways, it's about these new generation of Looney Tunes called the Tiny Toons, like Buster Bunny, Babs Bunny, Plucky Duck, Hampton Pig, Montana Max, and then they all go to this school called Acme Looniversity to learn how to be the next cartoon characters, and they're all taught by the Looney Tunes characters as their mentors. Like Daffy teaches Plucky Duck, Porky teaches Hampton Pig, stuff like that. The show does a very good job at recapturing all the Looney Tunes magic and all the stuff that made it work, like all the dialogue, the humor, the slapstick, the explosions, the weaponry, everything that made Looney Tunes great. It's in this, and this is a lot longer, so it has a lot more chances to get itself out there and do more crazy things. The Tiny Toons themselves closely resemble the Looney Tunes counterparts, but with a little bit more to them. For one, Bugs is split into two characters, Buster and Babs Bunny. Buster is the more everyman side of Bugs, but not the everyman that they turned Bugs into in the Looney Tunes show, where in that he was Jerry from Seinfeld. Ha. Well, he's more of the what's up Doc personality that Bugs has, the kind of charming and witty side of him. Then Babs is the psychotic, crazy one that Bugs is also known for. Hampton is also very neurotic and awkward like Porky, but he's also a glutton, he likes eating, and he's also a neat freak. He cannot stand dirty things. Montana Max is a lot like Yosemite Sam in the fact that they're both diabolical, angry, evil people, but Montana Max is also very rich, uptight, and spoiled, like the male Veruca Salt, and he's voiced by Danny Cooksey, who goes on to voice Dave from Dave the Barbarian, my favorite show of all time. To name all the Tiny Toons characters would be extremely difficult because there's so many of them. Granted, most of that time it's just a core 8 or so that get the main focus, but there are a few others in there. Well, not a few others, there's a ton of others. I couldn't even go on to name them all. The show's writing style is very, very well done. Not only does it rely on the slapstick that the Looney Tunes is also known for, but also the dialogue that it was known for. Very cleverly written jokes, very well thought out plots, even the stuff that seems like a product of its times, like the one that's all about making fun of the 90s and the trends, that at the time was written to just, well, do exactly that, make fun of the trends that are going on, like how someone would make fun of all the memes and pop culture references that are going on today, but it still holds up really well today. See, here's the difference with stuff like that. The stuff that's written today to make fun of today's stuff or to satirize the stuff that's popular now, it's not going to make sense or be funny in a few years because it's written just to reference that. With these, they use that as a basis or a template for the episode scripts, but they add more to it and make it more than just, hey, remember this fashion statement? Hey, remember the way they talk this way? Hey, remember this, remember this, remember this? They just use that as a joke, and they exaggerate and stretch it out to the point where you don't have to know what they're satirizing, but it's still funny nonetheless. Like, all of Babs' impressions are all celebrities that were popular during that time, but hey, I recognize a lot of them, but even the ones I don't recognize, it's still funny because of just how over-the-top and insane they are. Now, Tiny Toons isn't without its faults, though. There are the occasional episodes that just don't get it right. However, all shows have that. That's not really much of a bad thing. It's come to be expected when you have a TV show of any kind. Another one is the character of Elmira. A lot of people really don't like her, and yeah, I'm no different. Cree Summers does an amazing job voicing her, don't get me wrong. It's I guess the combination of the voice, the character design, and the way she acts. Now, Elmira is supposed to be Elmer Fudd, who instead of a crazy hunter with a weird voice, Elmira is an insane animal lover with an annoying voice. And you know how Elmer Fudd has this kind of voice? Well, she's kind of got like this super scratchy, high-pitched baby talk sort of voice. And she's in love with Montana Max. A lot of people really don't like Elmira, and like I said, I'm no different. But she can do some good, I suppose, just as long as she's not in it for too long. And yes, I am aware that she got the spin-off with Pinky in the Brain, Pinky Elmira in the Brain. You want to know what I think of that one? Well, just go to my very, very outdated top 6 things I will never review from way back in the day. I talk about that, and I give my piece on that, so I hope that I can explain that better there, because I don't really feel like bringing that up right now. The animation for the show is top-notch, and it had to be. Because if the animation was at a non-sufficient quality, there's no way they could have gotten any of this material right. The show had to have this exact style of animation and this exact fluency in the animation in order to get it right. And they did. This animation is some of the most lively, energetic, and exciting, and also some of the most colorful I've seen in quite a while. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the music done by the Richard Stone team. All the music in this is fantastic. Granted, it's not like Animaniacs where they'd break out in a song like every episode or so, but for what songs they do have and what music they have, it is very good, and especially that theme song. That theme song is one of my favorite theme songs of all time. I could listen to it over and over and over. Actually, sometimes I'd have no choice because if you just listen to it once, it could get stuck in your head and play it on and on and on and on and on and on throughout the whole day. But it'd take a long time before I'd get sick of it. Very energetic, very exciting, just like the show itself. It perfectly gets you all hyped up for the show and know exactly what it's about. And like Animaniacs, there are some jokes that they slip past the radar. Granted, not as many as Animaniacs is known for, but there were a few, certainly a few. I don't want to ruin any of them, but just go out and look and see if you can find some. Granted, with my core demographic, they might not be able to pick up on that, but hopefully the more eagle-eyed or aged ones of you will be able to notice those. I'm sorry that this one's a little bit on the short side, but really, Tiny Toons is one of those shows that it's so good, but there's so little to talk about, I suppose, because really, the way you can understand of how good it is you have to watch it for yourself, which I highly recommend. I'd recommend starting with the pilot, of course, then I'd say go to Life in the 90s if you want to see how funny it can really get. Because there are some episodes where it is about them at the Acme University, and then there are some where it's basically just like one of the old Looney Tunes cartoons, like Buster Bunny trying to collect $2 of newspaper payment from Montana Max, and it just escalates from there. The show is great. The show is very well written. Archibald seal of approval the whole way around. Well, folks, like I said, sorry that this is a little bit of a short one, but I hope it's sufficient quality enough for you. I'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.